Year 7, greetings to your Wednesday independent work task. The first of the projects that we would like you to work on and send to your English teacher by the end of the day. A short video, really, revising what we discussed on Monday and just telling you what to do. So let's look at last lesson. What is a witch? Do you remember what a witch is? The formal definition? Let's have a think. Well, you'll remember that a witch can mysteriously harm another person, usually a female person, that can mysteriously harm others. Now, can you explain why King James would be anxious on seeing them on stage? There are 3 witches at the beginning of Macbeth. Why, when he saw them in 1606, would he have been anxious, do you think, on seeing witches? Okay, we'll touch on some reasons a little later. A new word for you today, treason. Better write this down because it's an important concept inspiring events in the play Macbeth. What is treason? This is a definition. It is the crime of betraying one's country or government, especially by attempting to kill or overthrow the monarch. Monarch meaning king or queen. So you betray your country by trying to kill the king or queen. It takes its name from tradere, handing over, and Old French trésor, meaning treachery. So let's go back to the questions for this morning. Why were so many Catholics involved in treason, do you think? Think back to events of the 1600s, think back to Henry VIII. Why did Catholics want to commit treason? Pause the video if you need more time. And what act of treason would have been fresh in the minds of the first audiences of Macbeth? Think of what happened shortly before 1606. What act of treason would have been fresh in the minds of audiences? Let's push on. So today we're going to explain why Macbeth was written, in your opinion. So we're going to, this time, write about the influence of the king. We're going to write about how the political and cultural situation connects with Macbeth, and to prepare to read the first 2 scenes of the play later in the week. Again, a little reminder of your video timetable. Today you're doing some independent work for us, and on Friday we'll start reading the play in video lesson 2. Back to some revision. You made this wonderful timeline on Monday. I hope it covers Henry VIII changing England to Catholicism, witchcraft being illegal, Elizabeth I coming to the crown, coming to the throne, then James after her, both Protestant kings and queens, then the gunpowder plot and Macbeth being written to encompass all of those factors. There's Henry, Elizabeth, King James. We discussed his fears. The gunpowder plot almost killed him. We talked about how his wife and he were held back by storms, blamed on witchcraft. We talked about witches and their pets, known as familiars. Why are they called familiars, you wonder? Well, it's because animals were more familiar with nature than witches, so it helped them use herbs, natural forces to create spells. That's why animals are called familiars. Witches' pets, I should say. We also looked at the great chain of being, God's hierarchy, with the king placed above nobles. And we looked at the Latin motto, there is no power on earth that compares to the power of the king, the divine right of kings, that is. And we also looked at how it was a superstitious time of ghosts, witches, and spells, and all of those were incorporated into the plot line of Macbeth, where on the top left you can just about make out 3 witches above a cauldron. Macbeth and his friend Banquo are visiting them, and how those events lead up to Macbeth committing treason and taking the crown from King Duncan. The questions we want you to answer today are here. First, what events inspired Shakespeare to write a play in which a Scottish nobleman is helped by witchcraft to commit treason, but is punished severely? So, why Scotland? Why witchcraft? Why treason? What events inspired Shakespeare to incorporate all those things? The second question we'd like you to answer for us is, what elements of Macbeth did Shakespeare choose specifically to please King James? And remember, the king had the power to close down a theatre if he didn't like what the actors were doing, what they were performing. And can you think of any aspects of the play which may not have been as pleasing for King James? So what did he like? What might he not have liked? And finally, what's the overall message of the play? And why would this be appropriate for King James? Feel free to come back to those questions. Just to help you, here are some final questions for today for us to think about together now. You know which of these animals are familiars? Birds, toads, rats, or hippos? Let's have a think. And finally, in medieval England, the punishment for treason was the most brutal of all. That's to say, people were ultimately beheaded, and then some. But why was this? Why was the punishment so brutal? Why do you think? We look forward to hearing your answers to all of these questions in an email by the end of the day. Bye for now.